Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of Critical Wave Theory. And today we're basically doing a show within a show, and we're looking at, creepy creatures and myths. And this one is the Agropelter. So, what the hell is an Agropelter? And I'm also going to include a bonus bogus Agropelter story. Basically, this is me looking at cryptids. And this was a piece that I submitted to the horror section of Vocal Media. It's published over there, and you can read it if you want. It's up to you. But I'm going to read it over here at my podcast. So, what the hell is an agropelter? Well, it's a fearsome critter. What is one of those? It's apparently a step below the standard cryptid, as people seem less inclined to believe so called fearsome critters actually exist. Indeed, the agropelter seems to match that category, as it is apparently a tall tale linked to lumberjack lore. Basically, an agropelter is an ape like creature with long, whip like arms that can throw logs, and presumably sticks and rocks, at any people who piss it off. In other words, if you could somehow meet an agropelter, you'd better run quick or come equipped with an agropelter repellent. They don't call them fearsome critters for nothing. The agropelter results from, the process of inventing, silly creatures. In early lumberjack folklore, fearsome critters were mythical beasts that were said to inhabit the frontier wilderness of North America. And I'm quoting right now. The critters were a part of lumberjack downtime and were often used to welcome and haze newcomers to the camp. Lumberjacks would Lumberjacks who would go from camp to camp would bring their entertaining stories with them, and they would slowly spread as tall tales across America. End quote. So that's from pinebarreninstitute.com. They have a nice little article about the agropelter over there. So that's my source for that quote. And I'll talk about this mythical beast a bit here. Then, for the heck of it, I'll get into that short fictional story about it. So, what are the facts of agropelter lore? My favorite description of the agropelter is that it has the villainous face of an ape. Now, honestly, when I see primates, I rarely ever think of the word villainous. Still, that's something Wikipedia quotes on their page, and frankly, you won't likely find much more info on the agropelter than a Wikipedia page or something very much like it. For example, there's a page about it at WikiWand. In other words, this article is almost pointless, or this podcast episode is almost pointless, but maybe you'll be entertained by the story of the agropelter. And once you've swallowed that bitter pill of the agropelter being kind of pointless and meaningless, maybe you can at least respect my honesty about the futility of this topic and enter the appropriate introspective headspace regarding your own adherence to myths and fantasies. So, what are the terrors of the agropelter in pop culture? Here's what's weird about this mythical beast. I wasn't able to find it appearing in any movies or TV shows as a topic. So why not? To me, an ape man with wiry arms slinging logs at people is a solid idea. The only snag is that at this point, it's a lesser known mythical creature. But maybe that's a reason to include the agropelter because it would come across more as a fresh idea. That's something for you to think about out there. If you're a creative person, maybe write some agropelter story. Every Bigfoot has to start somewhere, right? So don't be a perpetual stranger to the agropelter. Hollywood screenwriters, get out there and make something happen. Then again, sometimes Hollywood likes to dumb things down, as it ultimately did with the story of Frankenstein. Nevertheless, I want to see an ape man whipping logs at people, damn it, you know? And if I may be serious now, I'll pretend to be scientific for a moment. When assessing this blatantly non existent creature, there are still interesting topics that can come to mind. I accidentally typed find there. God damn. I mean, that's proof that I didn't entirely use AI to write my article, right? When I did a stupid typo there. But anyway, for a topic, how likely is it to find an aggressive gorilla who would attack people? Well, in the aftermath of Harambe's shooting death at the Cincinnati Zoo, the BBC addressed this very question. Ian Redmond of Ape Alliance stated, "All the incidences I know where people have been hurt by gorillas, or in some cases killed by gorillas, are in the wild where the gorilla feared an attack or was actually attacked." The article also emphasized it was always the human's fault. So, you know, keep that in mind when you're thinking about mythical, extremely violent and aggressive apes or, gorillas or anything like that. In other words, it is the human being with the villainous face more than the agropelter. In fact, this could be a decent little element to any movie about the agropelter. Just as Sea Legacy came under fire for politicizing an injured and starving polar bear for their "This is what climate change looks like" video, one can easily imagine a story about an exploited agropelter. What if, for example, the agropelter actually wasn't particularly mean, but just threatened, and that's why it attacks people? Did you ever consider that policy? Numbnuts? That's what I wrote there. I'm not sure. Uh, you know, not sure the meaning of that statement, but I just typed it. But anyway, surprising amount of weird looking animals aren't particularly dangerous. Obviously, plenty of spiders or even snakes aren't all that dangerous. Then you have something weird like the pangolin, which actually exists but looks almost like a cryptid. Pangolin means the animal that digs through the mountain, by the way. Then, of course, you have the platypus, which is such a weird creature it sounds like someone's lying by describing it. There are so many creatures that can be exploited for tourism, be they real or fake. Animalia is a regular cash machine. Alright, so here is my bonus, dumb, half assed agropelter story. Okay, so it begins now. Even the mightiest, most stalwart warriors of myth wouldn't be prepared to face the agropelter. Children, females, men, and animals would not be spared a possibly grisly fate from this aggressive, log whipping creature. In fact, I am among the few people who can speak to you from inside the agropelter territory, which happens to be throughout the entire run of the United States. How do I know about them? Well, I can communicate with them, actually. That's right. No, they do not usually speak fluent English, but they can communicate using some English words with varying degrees of success. Maybe there's an agropelter William Shakespeare out there, but I haven't met yet. I happen to be one of 12 agropelter human hybrids created during a fateful and distressing excursion into a darkened forest. My female human parent is quite unknown to me after early childhood, but I imagine she regretted the occasion that spawned me. While the vast majority of people didn't know I was part agropelter until this bombshell confession, it is said that my mother knew it and that I just barely passed for human. My adoptive parents were sworn to secrecy on this matter, only telling me and their priest once during confession. Regarding my mother, they've only said she bore a striking resemblance to Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. which may be what prevents me from looking 100% like the agropelter. Anyway, as a neat consequence of my interspecies DNA, I actually have an innate sense of where fellow agropelters reside, and I meet with an isolated group of agropelters at least twice per year. This is always at a different place in the forests of these beautiful United States. In some cases, at least one of the creatures present could speak in broken English. Others drew pictures indicating some artistic intelligence and merit. The communicative types usually relate their fun times of savagely whipping logs, branches, and splintered tree segments at human lumberjacks, as well as their outright decapitations. Thankfully, they always assure me, in so many barely discernible words, that I am of them, so they shall continue to spare me of their habitual menace. Some of you will surely wonder, okay, but what does an agropelter look like? The truth is, this can vary wildly. I have I have seen some at least 30 feet tall and weighing several tons, but most are no taller than a camel. I do know they have a unique social structure and even a language of their own. Though I have never learned their language myself, the English speaking agropelters pointed to a strange sign outside of a cave. It read, "Whoever enters this temple will see the most great throne." If in your mind's eye I haven't yet painted a far too vivid picture of the agropelter's face, let me do so now. Do not trust any depictions of the agropelter you have seen in popular culture. In truth, much of the agropelter's appearance relates to its own unique experiences, which link up to its individualized personal characteristics and habits. Though always simian, you can find an agropelter looking bizarrely like a Siberian tiger or any number of creatures due to their unique genetic and environmental conditioning. In fact, their variations are so profound that no agropelter could be easily confused for another. How strange. What about the agropelter temperament? While their moods are remarkably violent against humans, at least most often, one can be relatively calm to another, purring like a well developed feline. Also, much like with their bizarrely long whip like arms, the agropelter tends to have a relatively long tail, which is prehensile. This allows them to move easily and more easily scale trees, and these tails are also used to throw things at pesky humans. It has a wide, powerful maw, which it uses to eat tree bark, its primary food. Another question you surely have: are agropelters really so unrelentingly aggressive to humans? The answer is yeah, pretty much. One told me that they often use human spines as toothpicks or combs. They're also known to juggle human eyeballs for sport.